of daily murders and random kidnappings. They are suffering permanent shortages of food, basic goods, most medicines, and medical care. Water is scarce.
The conditions for the Venezuelan population are terrible. And, you know, obviously we continue to be quite concerned about the well-being of the people of Venezuela.
Well, talking about Venezuela there, the socialist government there seems to be crumbling. The days for President Nicolas Maduro may be numbered. The New York Times writes it this way: the economic crisis in this country has exploded into a public health emergency, claiming the lives of untold numbers of Venezuelans. Hospital wards have become crucibles where the forces tearing Venezuela apart have converged. Gloves and soap have vanished from some hospitals. Often cancer medicines are found only on the black market. There is so little electricity that the government works only 2 days a week to save what energy is left. The hospital has no fully functioning x-ray or kidney dialysis machines because they broke long ago, and because there are no open beds, some patients lie on the floor in pools of their blood. This is a crisis that's developing in South America and changing fast. We're back with the panel. Charles.
This is the most spectacular, self-inflicted economic collapse that any of us have ever seen. Venezuela is an unbelievably rich country, but the second or third largest oil reserves in the world. It's been under socialist Chavismo for, 10, 15 years. And it has systematically destroyed not only the political institutions, which of course it has, but the economy in a way that's sort of remarkable. You almost have to work at it, and there is no way out. They have no idea. Their inflation's 180%. Riots in the streets. People are dying, essentially, in the hospitals. This is going to head to open civil war, and we're going to have to restrain ourselves because any intervention by the U.S. will backfire. But I think there's sentiment in Latin America that they cannot allow a country of this size to actually implode into that kind of war. I think there will ultimately be intervention, but this cannot last long. But it is an object lesson for your millennials of what happens when you get real socialism in power. They promise you everything, and in the end, what you get is what you're seeing there.
Yeah, listen up, Bernie voters, says Charles.
Well, what about this?
But it's
not get that bad. We will all have toilet paper in this country, but it isn't anywhere in Venezuela.
You know what? This is the kind of thing you'd see in a war zone when there is a real civil war happening, and there's not. This is, as Charles said, an economic collapse. Now, what could happen is a coup. That's possible. But this can't go on. This is a failed state because of an economic collapse.
Except that Chavez appointed practically all the generals in the army. So they're going to really have to get to the end point before that happens.
And we get 11% of our oil from Venezuela.
And before Bernie Sanders voters were born, we all had a real good view of what socialism did with the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc countries, and we knew that it was, you started with a little bit and it would take over everything, and it was a terrible life, and it snuffed out all freedom.
In the meantime, this Nobel Peace Prize winning president is now